Good afternoon. You can all take a deep sigh now with me. Everybody inhale real deep. It's almost over. I came here today and discovered I was listed as a problem solver. By a show of hands, how many of you have a problem you want me to solve today? Come on. Wow. Most of you don't have any problems, or you're afraid if I solve them, something else will happen. I have discovered that when I'm solving problems, there are two laws, basic laws that govern my problem solving. One is Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong at absolutely the worst time. The second one is a little more obscure, but I'm finding it comes into play even more so. And that's called the law of unintentional consequences. And to put it simply, because it's actually a law that's out there and you can Google it, the law simply states that when I do something to solve a problem, something I didn't intend is going to happen, and most likely it's bad. So we're going to try to find ways to get around those two laws today. And we're going to do it by solving a couple of my problems. Okay, so we won't work on any of yours today. This is what I discovered in my driveway earlier this summer on a Saturday morning. How many of you think that my problem is I have a flat tire? Hold up your hand. How many of you think my problem is that I need to put my spare tire on? Hold up your hand. Okay. Actually, you're both right and you're both wrong. Yes, I have a flat tire, and that's a basic thing, but it doesn't get into the depth of the problem, and it really, as we go through the problem definition here, you're going to see that we're going to find out a lot more about my problem, and it's more than just a flat tire. The other part of it of I need to put my spare tire on, that really isn't a problem. That's a solution to the problem. And this is a thing about the way our minds work. We take a problem we've had in the past, and when we encounter it now, we use the solution from the past. But maybe that problem we have now isn't quite the same. Maybe there are some nuances to it that make it different. And so that's when the law of unintended consequences comes up and beats us down because something else happened that was bad when we applied the same solution we used in the past. So what I want to do today is spend a brief amount of time talking about structured problem solving, and in particular, problem definition. Because if you don't have a good definition of the problem, you cannot go and solve the problem correctly. So we're going to talk about a technique today called a 5W1H. And the 5W1H, also known as a Kepler-Trago first step, has 5 W's to it and 1 H. The 5 W's is what? What do we observe? The when. And this gets into the time I'm observing the problem and maybe even the frequency that I'm observing the problem. The where is the location of the problem. And that can be both in geography or specific to a part or a building or something. For instance, my spare tire has 2 locations, or my flat tire has 2 locations. 1, it's in my driveway, and 2, it's the left front tire. Okay? And then we're going to talk about who, and that looks at who is impacted by this and who can impact this. And then we're going to talk about which is our 5th W. And here what we're looking at is patterns or trends. Okay, this is the first flat tire I've had on this vehicle, and that'll become important in the next problem. The how looks at how is this not an optimal situation for me right now. So I have a flat tire on my car. That should tell you something that I obviously was going out to use my car. So there's something that is not optimal about this situation. And we're going to go and we're going to look at this in terms of asking an is and is not question for each of these. So we'll have a matrix, and what we'll be doing is looking at, okay, I have a flat tire. It's on the right front of my car. What it is not is it's not any of the other 3 tires. It's not my spare tire. It's also not any of the tires on my wife's car. So it's my flat tire. So we're going to complete this matrix here, and we're going to do it real quick now. And you can see what I've done is completed the matrix for us. It's my car tire is flat, 3 tires are okay. It's 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. It's not last night. It's in my driveway. It's not on the highway. It's not in a parking lot. It affects me, my wife, my son. It could affect AAA road service, who I might call. Probably will affect the tire shop where I take the tire to get it repaired. It doesn't affect my neighbors or coworkers. The winch is the right front, and it's the first flat tire on this vehicle. Notice, I left the winch out here, is not. You don't have to fill everything in on these matrices. The other thing I would tell you is there really is no absolute right or wrong place to put this, okay? Finally, the how. How is it not optimal? Well, I can't use my car to get to breakfast at 8:30 with my son on Saturday morning. And I also can't use it right now to get to work on Monday. So, I can still go to breakfast if I can get transportation. And I can look at repairing the tire later on in the day. I want to introduce now the thought of all of this. All of this is what we call data. And data has 2 properties in my mind. 1, it's quantifiable, and 2, it's verifiable. I can quantify, yes, my tire is flat. I can look at it right there. I could have you look at it and go, yes, your tire is flat. You could do the same thing with my spare tire. You could do the same thing with any of these items up here. They are quantifiable and verifiable. And it's important to remember that we're dealing with data and problem solving. And data is very important. Remember now, in God we trust, all others bring data. Now, as we look at this is very simple, okay? And so what does my problem look like? This is now my problem statement, okay? A flat tire on my car is preventing me from meeting my son for breakfast on Saturday morning. I need to be able to drive my car to work on Monday. And all of you have just gone, take your wife's car, or call your son. Have him pick you up on the way to breakfast. And that's our minds flashing real fast through the problem-solving thing. In fact, when I went out there and I saw the flat tire, I didn't fill out this matrix. I just grabbed my wife's car keys and said, honey, I'll be back in an hour and a half, and left. And then we dealt with the thing later. There's a couple key points, though, that I should point out. One is I have an intimate knowledge that the tire shop is capable of repairing my tire if I have it in by Saturday morning before noon. It'll be ready for me by 4 o'clock so I can put it back on the car and have my car for Monday. If I didn't have that knowledge, I'd have to be gathering that knowledge as part of my problem definition, because I might have to go and say, I need to go and cancel breakfast with my son so that I can get my tire to the shop so I can get it repaired so that I'm not driving to work on my spare. So during this whole problem definition part, we're going to go and have to gather data. At times, you're going to need other people to supply you data. So at the start of any problem-solving adventure, you should start thinking about your problem-solving team. And who's that going to be? Let's move on, and I want to go to another problem. I'm going to put the matrix up here. I'm going to tell you a story. This is a true story, and I actually had to use this matrix to get at it. And it deals with flat tires. Between December 2009 and March of 2010, I experienced 5 flat tires on my small SUV, 5 of them. It gets even worse. They were all, the right rear flat tire went flat, and they all went flat in my work parking lot. Well, it's kind of getting, okay. I'm at this point now where I pull the tire off, I take it into the tire shop, I say, guys, come on, what is this? Is your patch not holding? Is there something wrong with my tire? And the guy says, nope, just found another nail in it. And I went, you found another nail? He said, yeah, in fact, the last time you came in, it was a 4th tire. You had 4 holes in that one. So we moved it to the other side of your car and flipped tires on you. And I went, oh, so this is the first time this tire has been flat, but it's still on the right-hand side. He said, yep, here, you want to see the nail? I went, oh, very nice 1.5-inch roofing nail. And I thought, I even know where some of those are. So I started to go, and after I got home, I thought, okay, I got to go through this whole thing. And this is where I ended up with on my matrix. And you'll notice some things. I got a flat tire on my SUV. My wife's car, again, has no flat tires. None of my coworkers have flat tires. But I have had 5 out of the 14 snow days that we had that winter, a flat tire. On a clear morning, as I leave to work, it's okay. Or even on clearer and summer days, there was no problem. It's always at the parking lot at work, it's never at home. Who does it affect? It affects me. My wife, who has cooked a dinner, and when I call her and tell her I'm going to be a little late because I got another flat tire, she's not necessarily happy at having to put the pot roast on low. And again, I've left out who doesn't it affect. That's really not important. Again, the which, it's the right rear tire, and there was a nail in one tire that I found out about. It's not the spare tire or the other tires, or again, my wife's car. How does this keep me from being at an optimal state? It delays me leaving work. How is it not? Well, I can put my spare tire on and get along with things, so it's not an absolute disaster. Let me go back a little bit further now. I'm a big pickup truck guy. I love big pickup trucks. In 2009, I decided I can't keep paying $70 a week for gas to drive my big pickup to work every week. So I went and bought a small SUV. The neat thing about the small SUV is it was the first vehicle I owned that I could get into my garage. And when the thing of the nail came up, I thought, I know what the problem is here. And I walked back in, and sure enough, as you walk in, on the left-hand side is a shelving unit, and that's where I store all my nails. The only time the car went, or the SUV went into that garage was when there was a snow day forecast. Otherwise, I left it out because that was my workshop. That's where I did my woodworking. And you know, I have some of those 1.5-inch roofing nails on that shelf. And so I started to think, maybe the problem here, or not the problem, but the solution is, I need to watch the nails. I'm not getting them all up. So I started going, and before I ever backed the car in, I would sweep, always to the back of the garage, and then I would back the SUV in, and I haven't had a flat tire since. Now, we got a little more than just the problem definition in this example. But what I wanted to show you is that you can just keep repairing flat tires, and I would still be repairing them today if I had thought about where these things are coming from and said, I'm going to solve this problem. And so looking at how this whole thing works out, you see it's really a convenient tool for you to use. We've gone through a couple problems, and they are really simple problems. What I'd like to encourage each of you to do is take this matrix and use it. And use it on small problems first. Because you're going to get into problems that are so complex that it's going to take you weeks to fill this matrix out, to get the data on trends, to get the data on when it's happening, where it's happening, what your defect rate is. So we're going to look now at what I want you to do is to move just beyond that. Okay, start to define your problems, but I want you to consider looking at problem-solving tools. I want you to become problem-solving masters. They're all different types of problem-solving tools that are up there. I've used most of them. They have different things there, and by the way, those of you who might have been exposed to problem-solving will recognize duplicates up there. I mentioned that we were going to look at a Kepler-Trago, which is the same thing as the 5W1H. The 4M1E is the same thing as a fishbone. So different people are calling these things different things, but the structure is still the same. What I want you to do is I want you to pick some out, learn to use these tools. All of you here will be solving problems the rest of your life. You're the one that has to solve your problems. I can only help you by providing some tools. Thank you.